Good day, dear friends. Want to get something in a couple of times before the big show tonight at the Cutting Room, 7 p.m. I have to go through the various lists of what we should be talking about, which of course changes as the day goes on. It's difficult sometimes to figure out, what's the best topic, the best subject, the best what's the most. Well, it changes from time to time. It changes. So doors opens at 6. Hit the stage at 7. That's the way that goes tonight. It's another veritable potpourri, a bash, the likes of which we cannot even imagine. Hope to see you there. Tickets available still on. No. Today's day of. So that's when you snooze, you lose. Whatever the particular phrase is. So that's tonight. I want to see you there because it's not just a chance for us to meet. It's a chance for certain factions of us to meet. You see, we're not conservatives. I hate to say that. We tend to be. Somebody told me the other day. Our group tends to be, and this is very interesting. Somebody asked me, tends to be more white, and I said, "Wow, that's interesting." And I said, "Does that mean that we don't appeal to what black people?" I said, "We also don't have a lot of Koreans." I mean, I don't know what that means. We don't have teenagers a lot. I mean, with some. So whenever there's a group of people, the predominance of one does not mean the exclusion of another. Does that make sense to you? We don't have a lot of Democrats. It's not that we exclude Democrats. Democrats don't gravitate towards us. That makes sense to you? See, it's how you look at things. It's not. We don't really care. What ultimately we do is we have no litmus test. Our test is, do you believe what we are saying? Do you believe this? And then that's it. And then whoever you are, I don't care. I can promise you that on our events, on our newsletters and our events of Cutting Room, we have gays, black, women, lesbians, young, old. It doesn't. It never caters to a group. It's an ideology. Yeah, your group is. I have no idea. If you walked in 7 feet tall, a drag queen. I hate to sit behind it anyway, but be fine. Have a seat. Do you agree with what we're saying? Yeah, that's it. That was nice. And I think I can speak for all of us with that. We don't really care. I don't care. Nobody really cares about your sexual preferences and the like. It doesn't make any difference. And I think that's really important to understand. I want to make sure everybody grasps that whole idea because the notion of us caring about uh your anything doesn't matter. Do I have an amen with that? Do you agree with me? I hope you do because it's very critical that you understand this. I don't care about what you call yourself. It doesn't matter to me. Eh, I just don't. It doesn't. I don't care. I've never understood that. Well, I'm a Republican. I don't know. I'm not a member of the Republican Party. I'm not a member of any party. I don't believe in parties. I don't understand it. I'm irreligious. I don't belong to any kind of religious denomination. I'm not spiritual, but I believe in the right to express it. But it doesn't really matter because it doesn't conflict. If I conflict with what you're saying, if I say, "Well, I can't deal with somebody who thinks that," that's one thing. But I don't believe that. I don't say that. I don't act like that. Does that make sense to you? I think it does. I hope it does. I hope it makes sense to you because that's exactly the way I feel. I also want to say something too before we get started. I want to talk about this thing called the truth. This is my favorite. This is my favorite. Everybody loves to say they speak the truth. Do I? Do I believe in the truth? Do I? Whose truth? Your truth? I don't think about truth. I think about accurate. It's accurate. For example, your this is a true let's say, give an example. You go to the doctor, you do a lipid test, and somebody says your cholesterol is 135 or something. Now, here's the issue. Is that an accurate test? Is that an accurate test? Or is it a true test? Well, I mean, it's true. Yeah. But is that accurate in terms of, let's say, what does it mean? Well, it's true. I mean, again, that it's true. You've got a 135. But what does this tell you about your lipid health, your heart health? Can you just walk away from that and say, all right, that's enough. That's all I need? No, not even close. It's true, but it doesn't tell you anything. Is it accurate? Does it? Well, yeah. But the accuracy is you're trying to see, does this affect or predict heart or cardiac health? You need more than that. If I told you somebody weighed 210 pounds, are they fat? Is that true? Is that true? Well, I don't know if it's true or not. What if they're 6'11"? They're 6'11", almost 7 feet tall. Is 200? Oh, no, they're not fat. Well, you just had the weight. The weight was true, but is it accurate? You think, well, it's not. It doesn't really tell me the whole picture. It's okay. Look at this. Here's our good friend, our great friend, Big Dick from Chi-Town. Thank you, Lionel Nation. Love y'all. Love y'all too. Don't let me get off this for a moment. This is very, very important. Very, very critical. See, we do this all the time. We're dealing about, well, what's the truth? I speak the truth. Well, it's true, but does it give me the whole picture? Is Trump your guy? Yeah, but he's acting a little nuts. You know, Trump is nuts, right? You know he's crazy. But Picasso was crazy. Some people are crazy. He's very crazy. I mean, he's crazy. He's mean. He's vindictive. I'll take it. I'm not going anywhere. Is that true? Well, yeah, but is it accurate? Well, you got to take the context. Sometimes it's bold. Was Patton crazy? Sorta, yeah, but he was the best. He was the best, one of the best generals ever, because of different reasons, which you may or may not know. See, people are funny about this. They love to say that we speak the truth. Speak the truth. That's the wrong word. I mentioned this to you before about lipids. It's fascinating because the more I study, the more I learn, the more I realize, wow. Does diet affect LDL? Yeah. Unless you have a genetic predisposition for it. Does or pro or for or against? Does weight training work? Yeah. Does. Unless you have hyperlipidemia or something. See, it's true, but it's not accurate. It tells you sort of. You know what I mean? Sort of. There are things called false positives. So I guess what I'm trying in this very, very strange way to tell you is something a little bit different. And that's this notion of, to tell you just to be very, very careful when you talk about things like the truth. And I know this is something that you don't like, because people love to think that what they're saying is always the truth. And I speak the truth, and I don't know. I don't know what the truth is. I'm not really sure. People get some parts of it and not really the truth. I was listening this morning to a great, one of these old, not old, but it's a lecture on warfare. And one of the things was that everybody loves Sun Tzu. Notice the way I say that. Versus General So. And Sun Tzu. And people love to quote a little meme, a little like Marcus Aurelius. They'll have a little meme, a little quote, and they'll feel like, hey, that's great. It's like, go deeper. I don't want to go deeper in this, but that's enough. No, go deeper. What's accurate versus what's the truth? Again, I could do this forever and ever and ever. And we tend to do me a favor, dear heart. Would you do that? Just so that you all can talk, you don't have to worry about it. Thank you. I know people like to talk about certain things, but they kind of miss the point. Let me see if I can explain. During the Vietnam War, Westmoreland believed that remember, people fight the last war. That's the old expression. People always say this. They always say that in war, you fight the last war. Whatever they did, you do. So Westmoreland looked at Vietnam as a chessboard. And he thought, if I just basically kill the enemy, if I destroy the enemy, if I go after the enemy, I will win. I will be successful. If I do this, General Jap, who is said, no, we're going to do more Sun Tzu, but we're going to say, no, we're going to look more of containment. They're going to use insurgents, the Viet Cong, to draw them out, and then we're going to grab them by the belt. We're going to grab them by the belt. We're going to use whatever they would call in artillery. That's where they would land. Americans would land their LZ, their landing zones, whatever. They would have these fire missions before, which signal to them this is where they're coming. The NVA, the VC, used to sit on their backs with rifles and shoot. They knew how planes had to fly at a certain range, because if they were too low, they would be caught. If they were too high, they could be hit with missiles. They were kind of in this range, and they would sit back and they would fire and they would hit planes with rifles, jets, rifles, helicopters with rifles. It's the most incredible. They took the rules of everything and they just said, no, we're going to make the war adapt to us. We're not going to do it the other way around. That's what I want you to do. I want you to take everything you've ever learned and ask yourself, do you want to be a participant in this, or do you want to just sit back and watch? If you want to watch, you don't need my help. Just have a nice day. Just keep talking and don't work. But if you want to be a participant in this, if you really want to be a real, another word I love, patriot. I don't know what the hell that means, but whatever. If that melts your butter, I'm an American. Patriot to me, I think, is kind of understood. I use patriotism against the enemy, and the enemy, believe it or not, remember, is not from another country. It's internal. Remember, Hamas is not your enemy. Hezbollah is not your enemy. Ukraine's not your enemy. Putin's not your enemy. France is not your enemy. NATO, no, it's here. Those are the people we can deal with. Those are like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. The people that are here. You live in a world of bacteria. That doesn't bother you. You have an immune system. That doesn't bother you. Yeah, that's important. That doesn't bother you. The stuff that bothers you is that real internal stuff. That's like, ooh, how did that get in there? Didn't you clean that wound? Oh, God. How did you do that? That's what we do. It's the internal stuff. We're at a war. We're in a war. And you don't need truth. You want accuracy. We don't need truth. Truth will not set you free. Being noble will not set you free. We're the greatest country in the world. Sloganeering, Fox News stuff. No, that's not going to work. We have to identify what the enemy is, who the enemy, and when we've won. We got to understand when we've won something and when things are happening. If your intel goes out and you find out that the enemy's not there anymore, stop firing there. There's nothing there. Move over. Where did the enemy move? The enemy's over here now. Good. Stop firing over there. There's nobody there. This past week, we received the first intel report of a major advancement. May not be because of what we did, just may be a reality. You know, sometimes, like for example, in the case of Ukraine, conscription is so bad that some people are leaving. Some people what am I trying to say? Some people are leaving because they are I'm not sure what the correct phrase is, but they're leaving because they feel abandoned. They feel as though they've lost. They feel as though they've let me give you an example. Hollywood, Colbert. When I try to tell somebody, it's like, it's not about Colbert per se. That's important. This is a very important issue. Colbert was representative of a lot of things. Corporate America, and I will tell you, it went back to the collapse of U.S. aid. U.S. aid was the most important thing in the world. U.S. aid was more, you don't know what that represented. That was the paymaster for so many programs which are contrary to American, how do I say this? So many programs which are contrary to what's going on. They founded, they were responsible for more negative programs that affected us horribly, more than you would ever imagine. Ever. Okay? So when that pulled out, a lot of the information that was, a lot of the funding that went to offset a lot of things like Politico, magazines, websites, supporting efforts, up to and including George Soros. And I would also submit that George Soros is one of the biggest frauds ever, that his open society was funded not by George Soros, but by other people who used him as a paymaster as well. Remember the rule. Remember Lionel's rule. If you know the name of somebody, they're not involved. The people who run the world have names you've never heard of, organizations you've never heard of, not BlackRock and not whatever. Yeah, they're important, but that's not it. So what happens is when you bring up Colbert, people will say they'll just focus on him. They don't like him. They didn't like the show. They didn't think he was funny. They didn't think that's not it. That's not it. That's not what we're talking about. That's not the critical thing here. It wasn't about Colbert. It wasn't about him. It's what he represents. It's the end, the decline, the collapse of the first step of, number one, this propaganda, agitprop nonsense. Number two, the decline of Hollywood and entertainment. Remember, Hollywood is dying. It's dying not because of your efficacy, because of your ideology, because of Trump or whatever. It's dying because of things are different. The phone, this is a mouse, but the phone has changed everything. General Jap, Vietnam, NVA, said, I'm going to change warfare. There are people who believe that you must have a movie theater to see a movie. They believe that. They believe that. They believe that you need a theater. General Jap would tell you people watch films on their phone. Yeah, but I don't like a film on my phone. We don't care about you. Yeah, but I don't watch CNN. We don't care about you. They might, I don't know, they might not. General Jap didn't say, this is what I think, the way I would fight. This is the way Napoleon. But no. What's now? Tell me now. You want truth or you want accuracy? Before BMIs, people didn't understand anything about what weight meant. They didn't understand what a BMI reading was. It really should be anything over. You want to be under 22, not 25, but that's a different story. Anyway, this is new data, new everything. It changed. It changes. The stuff that we thought before doesn't really apply today. But there are other people who are still fighting this thing, and there are people that we know who are in our world trying to contaminate it with old, kind of closed-minded stuff. In my perfect world, I would purge this system, our system, of this old thinking, this old Fox News kind of thing. It's archaic. It doesn't matter. This is the Rush Limbaugh crowd, with all due respect. I am constantly changing. I love to know what new music styles is. Let me say something very important. I don't like necessarily the new music. I want to know what people are thinking, what they're listening to, what they're exposed to. I don't have to like it. I don't have to listen to it. When I hear people proud, I hate to say, I don't know who that is. Drives me crazy. There are people I know who love to say, oh, I don't watch that. I don't care for that. I don't go to movies. I don't read. They feel this sense of pride. They're like the Westmorelands. They're like, I went to West Point, and I'm not going to have some stupid guy named General Jap tell me I'm a 4-star full, general. I'm a general of the United States. I went to West Point. General Jap said, you don't understand the way we fight here. You're fighting in a way that's ridiculous. And I'm sure that Cornwallis or Washington would have said, you line up and you wear a red coat, or maybe not Washington, but you see what I'm saying? We have to change the way we think. And there are so many of us who think in ways that are just, it's archaic. I represent, and we represent, a new focus on this. And we have to purge ourselves of this ridiculous way of thinking. And we have to understand what things represent. And you have to watch how jokes change, people change, and you're not going to change it. That's another thing. You're not going to be able to change it. Read it. Read it. Read the data. Forget truth. Be accurate. This is what I want. Yes, radar is a true form of recognizing, but that radar is wrong because it's pointed the wrong way. Yes, weight is true. You do weigh 220 pounds, but I don't know how tall you are. It's true. It's not accurate. It doesn't. I need more. It's part of the issue. It's like, yeah, it's true, but not really. Or this comes from an old way of thinking. Well, my grandfather. We don't care what your grandfather did. It's year 2025. Get with the program. And we are still fighting. And I'm telling you right now, the Fox News in particular, and it's not Fox News, but it's a mentality represents something very dangerous. It's kind of a torpid way of thinking. It's this old-fashioned. It's not accurate. It's like go back to medical school in 1940s. Talk about LPA. And what are you talking about? LDL? What? No, I said, what? They don't know what are you talking about? Ignat Semmelweis, who said, why don't we wash our hands? Remember these women who were suffering from these terrible postpartum infections, and the doctors who were involved they were in the morgue who had never washed their hands. He said, why don't you wash your hands? And they thought he was some kind of a pussy because he suggested it. Make the dream great again. What you're talking about has not been passed down from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on. That's the problem with the data. Absolutely. Absolutely did it. You see right here, this is the most important. Metabolic rate is the most important. No, it's not. Be very careful of people who all of a sudden say they're experts. No, you know a little bit about something, and I know a little bit about something, and my little bit about something may be a lot more than you, but it's still a little bit about. Be very wary of the expert. Be very wary about some of us. The stuff that brings us to the dance hurts us because we're experts. A woman said to me, sugar causes cancer. I mean, they just say this bullshit. I don't know where they get this from. I mean, oh, you going? Okay. When you have this, how do I say this? Let me say this again. I may know a little bit more than you. No, excuse me. I may no, pardon me. I may know a little bit about the subject, but a lot more than you. Doesn't make any difference. So be careful. Be very careful. Do not sit back and let people who feel by virtue of this machinery, a keyboard or whatever, that they are just instant experts. No. Remember, I told you this. I'm going to say it again. Our enemy is internal, and the internal may also be people, believe it or not, who represent our way of thinking, but don't know anything. Somebody who thinks they know something. Let me give you an example. I cannot believe, and I find this so fascinating, somebody saw Bobby Kennedy Jr. dropping methylene blue, which I don't know anything about. I don't know anything about this. But immediately, methylene blue is being sold by the gallon in some cases. And nobody knows what the hell it is. Let me say this again. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's an observation. Where'd that come from? This is what politics is too. I remember one time somebody when gluten free came out, people were getting things for gluten free. What's gluten? I don't know, but it's free. It must be good. They didn't know. They don't know these things, and that scares me. It scares me very, very much, and it's our tendency because our group, see, we think we're superior. The left thinks they're more intellectual, but we think we're wiser. We think we know everything. We don't. We have to go back oftentimes, more often, to explain to the rudiments of things. We're very bad about this. So what I'm telling you is that, listen to me. Take everything you know, throw it away. And ask yourself this question, what I always tell you. How do you know what you know? You may sometimes be ahead of the game. You might also be laboring under something which doesn't make any sense. We have no. Let me give you an example. What is happening regarding Zoran Mamdani? Somebody writes, if they know something, they can confirm it with their phone. I don't know what that means. Is that a joke? I don't know. Another thing, our communication skills, with all due respect, are so poor. Now, I'm not using that as an example, but maybe. We don't know how to write. We don't speak. We don't explicate. ChatGPT is going to take whatever. At least it's kind of like a translator. Maybe it's good for some people who just can't write at all. But I am of the opinion, and this is incredible. This is important. I am of the opinion that the and I don't know whose fault it is. We always have to blame the education system. I'm not going to get too much into this, but sometimes we really aren't able to articulate and to think about the level of thinking that is involved in something. Let me give you an example. Let me change subject. Okay. First, Colbert. Hollywood is next. What do I mean by Hollywood? What do I mean by Hollywood? What do I mean by Hollywood? What does that mean? What do you think? What do you mean by Hollywood? What do I mean? Movies? What? James Gunn. You know who James Gunn is? Who's James Gunn? James Gunn. The American filmmaker, the co-CEO of DC Studios. He did Superman. James Gunn. You know who he is? Anybody? Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, what he used to be. Do you know his tweets? James Gunn was removed from directing the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 following the resurfacing of offensive tweets published. This was in 2018. Published on the director's Twitter page years ago. Alan Horn, chairman of the Walt Disney Studios, issued a statement declaring the offensive attitudes and statements discovered on James's Twitter feeds are indefensible. He said, for example, he joked about pedo, homophobia. The R word rhymes with grape. And September 11th terrorist attempt. One tweet said, I like when little boys touch me in my silly place. This is the degenerate that they had running Guardians of the Galaxy and now Superman. And what do you think? Where do we go? How do we affect? What do we do? What do we do? How do we affect people? How does the radical... Because remember, if you think this is about Democrats, you're missing the point. That our battle is not against Democrats. Democrats are like the iteration. Democrats is like I'm making a little addition. I'm writing my notes for tonight's cutting room as I speak because things just change. If you talk to people, they think that it's liberals. The Rush Limbaugh crowd will say, and God bless her, and I like Rush a lot, but it's like it's anachronistic. It's anachronistic. It doesn't. This is a different worldview. I mean, he kind of knew who these people were. He knew who they were. He spoke to them, but he didn't really. How do I say this? He didn't really grasp the big picture. He talked about these people called liberals and that kind of stuff. But that's kind of it. But what's important to understand and to grasp fully and totally is that there's this enemy that we're fighting, and it's not just Democrats or Mamdani or OAC or AOC. It's this other force, and where they're from, we can argue all day. Is it this? Is it Soros? Is it? Talk about it. The only thing that's good about knowing where something comes from is if you can prevent it. Like a lot of people in emergency rooms don't sit there when somebody's dying of a heart attack. They don't sit there and say, "You wonder how he got this." You think maybe it was dying? Maybe it's a family predisposition. I don't know. Maybe. No, you fix it, and then later on. So the only thing I care about, if I can, I don't really care where it comes from unless I can fix it. If I say, well, it's coming from our music, well, I can't do anything about the music. I just have to counter the music. So our battle is not just with Democrats. It's against, and this is the most important point, it's against these people. And what they've done is they've taken Superman is one of the biggest stories. People want to go see Superman. So what are they doing? They're learning about weather. And maybe you agree with this. Maybe you think that Israel is a bad guy, whatever. I'll let you talk about that. What I'm telling you is that there is something that's going on in this country, which is very, very, very serious and very, very dangerous. And we have missed the point altogether. So working backwards, if I can destroy Hollywood, if I can destroy the funding of it, not movies, but the message, not movies. If I turned it around, if somehow you allowed me to do to Hollywood what Hollywood has done to us, imagine if there was a Superman movie that had a Donald Trump-like character in charge of, or the president, without mentioning Trump, and he went to the border to fight Mexican cartels who want to attack and hurt and harm our women and children and flood and perfuse our country with poisons like fentanyl and the like, which is exactly what they're doing. Imagine if that were because remember, kids will be pulled in for the action. The message is not what they're pulled in for. The message is what they will see. Imagine if we ran that. Things would be changed dramatically. So consequently, whoever can get to Hollywood first, remember, kids are going to see these movies. I will give you, if somebody tells me, listen, kids love CGI and blah, 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 I'll give them whatever they want. The message I control about how America is the greatest country in the world, how family values are it. No blue-haired, studded, trans anything, gone. I lure them in and I tell them, this is what's cool. And they'll say, okay. Because they want their goal, they want to go to the movie. And then I artificially create the impression that this is a trend. Remember, if I control entertainment, if I control publication, then I win. I win. Do you understand what I'm saying? Someone writes, Holly Weird. Spelled incorrectly, but still nonetheless. Okay. Does that do anything just now? No. Do you understand this? No. Is what I'm saying having an impact now? No. No. It's not. And I recognize it. I understand this. Look at this. Hollywood keeps making and remaking superhero movies is because Hollywood is dead. No. No. Hollywood is not dead because they're making movies no, that's not it. Movies, it's not remaking, it's called action movies. Action movies. The people who are going, you see, this is what I got to deal with. You love to speak in platitudes, absolute truth. No. If you stood in line or online, if somebody's going to a movie and you said, do you understand? And by the way, a lot of these movies go straight to streaming, so there really is no theater. But anyway, if you said, you know, that Clark Kent actually started off as a pro-American kind of a 30 years of communism and fascism, but that there was a guy named George Reeves who, did this in the 50s. They don't know what you're talking about. They don't say, you do realize this is the same movie over and over and over again. They don't know what you're talking about. They don't know what you're talking about. Look at this. Cliff says, I shunned Hollywood after a movie Predator, but I like the movie. Okay. I don't know. I don't shun Hollywood. I still am a consumer. I don't know necessarily. I don't feel the compulsion to go to theaters like I used to. Look at the behavior of this. Do you understand what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? We're missing the point. We've got to get past our own egos. We all think that we've figured this thing out. You're not understanding how this thing's working. And I stop and I look and I'm saying, I'm not making any. And in fact, it might be. I always ask myself, remind myself, the people who are writing in do not necessarily represent the entire audience because there are far fewer people writing in. I hope other people get it because that's not it. That's not it. It's not about our superiority. I'm talking about a medium. Think of Hollywood as restaurants, food, eating, sports. You're not going to get rid of entertainment. I talk about Hollywood as kind of like a metonym for this seizure of propaganda. CIA's been involved in propaganda since the days of Fantasia, and the government's been involved in propaganda since Frank Capra, and entertainment is always where you go. Bread and circuses, we know all about that. You see what I'm saying? This is here might be the most important thing I've read. U.S. aid money has gone away and they are screwed. Absolutely, positively correct. Correct. Because we never knew where it was going. Let me give you an example. Robert De Niro. Okay, stop. Robert De Niro was Robert De Niro because somebody told me a long time ago, Robert De Niro has no money. Robert De Niro is up to his ass in ex-wives and family, and this is why he takes every movie there is, because he just there's just it's not what it used to be. The money's not there. When you see Eric Clapton at almost 80 years old still touring, you know he's got to go out for the money. Nobody tours it. Nobody. He's toured everything. Eric Clapton does not enjoy touring, going into a hotel. Nobody wants that. It's because it's a different power structure. The same thing with this. CBS right now, Sherry Redstone, they're trying to move it on. They're trying to say it's something else, or maybe it was Trump, or the latest story, which I find the most funny. And watch what I'll tell you. Let me tell you something. Watch this one. Let me see if I can explain this to you without being insulting. Changing the subject a little bit. People cannot handle more than one subject at a time, and one nuance at a time, and one framework at a time, and one message at a time. F. Scott Fitzgerald said this: the sign of a superior mind is being able to handle multi-layered, multi-leveled, textured, multivariate, different ideas and thoughts at the same time, and not lose their mind. You've got to be able to handle two different things, seemingly incongruous, inconsistent, and blend them together. I'm getting this bit of data and this bit of data, and they don't seem to, but I'm saying, okay, I can handle that. I can handle this. I can take it. Or subjects. This, and this. It's like the fellow with the place, Eric Bren. Americans can't do that. Can't do that. Always give them one topic at a time. Change their. We were talking before about Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi's out of the picture now because now we're talking about the Wall Street Journal and pubic hair and Trump doodling, and whether he used the word enigma. Next rule: people love simple, basic, base, flatulent sex, body parts. You know this CEO caught at the Coldplay thing or whatever. They love that story because it's a picture. It's something they can play with. The memes are great. People are looking the other way. It's one of the greatest stories ever. That's so easy to understand, so easy to digest, and it will suck the air out of the room. Next rule is if you have something on Friday, I used to think this would change by virtue of the fact that we have social media today, but that's not true. If you have something that breaks on Friday, by Monday it's just gone. It goes to the weekend to die. It's like when a hurricane goes out to the when the hurricane goes out to sea, it kind of dies. Cut Up Chatter says, if you live enough decades, you witness youth revive the old fashion to separate from their adult generation. One generation is tight, next is loose. That is true. That is true. That also speaks to a kind of a vicissitudinal kind of a sine wave. By the way, the same thing works for the older generation too. The old generation. It's we do the same thing, sort of. But remember, youth is great. The great part about youth and why it's so critical to get young people, is that that's where people cement their they cement their thinking when they're young, and then that plays a tremendous role. Believe it or not, that's why school is important. That's why all of this stuff is that's why Hitler Youth, going after, show me the young. Let me go after the minds of the young people. That's what I want to do. Not, okay, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. So we have this stuff right now, which is very interesting. Let me give you an example. Zoran Mamdani. You want to hear some good news? I don't say this because I want something to be true. I'm saying it because it is true. Remember, truth versus accuracy. Some things are true, but they don't give you the whole picture. Okay. One of the true stories is that he has made a tremendous insurgence, at least, and has captured the imagination of the country. Good, bad, or indifferent. He's captured the imagination of the country. Okay, fine. Good for them. Wonderful. Great. That's just great news. He's captured okay, fine. Okay. The other issue is, how is he doing in the numbers? The old generation loses their mind yearning for true old. Sometimes that's true to an extent. Yep. Zoran, thank you, by the way. Zoran Mamdani, whose name everybody misunderstands. We have Eric Adams, who's a cretin. He's an oafish buffoon. He's a monosyllabic gibberish. He can't even speak. I think he speaks English. I don't know what he speaks. He speaks something. I don't know what it is. He's a moron. He's a poltroon. He's a jadrul. But he's our jadrul. You know what I mean? He's okay. He's bought and sold and owned by the. He's just hanging on by a thread. I mean, they were going to indict him, and then they dropped. I mean, anyway. He's basically told the establishment, look, get me in one time and I'm yours. Okay, great. The best candidate, the actual best candidate, would be Curtis Lewa, without a doubt. The best, the person who actually seriously knows the city. Pilgrim says, I just ate 3 chicken embryos. Have a great day. You do know, Pilgrim, they're not embryos. You do know that an egg is an unfertilized ovum. You understand that, right? You do know that, right? An egg, unless you had a balut, which might be an actual, not really an embryo, but it might have been a balut. The Filipino balut is actually the egg where you bite into it and you can feel the crunch of the nails and the feathers but that's really not an embryo, but it's kind of sort of there. So something as simple as that, unless you're eating something I don't know about. If you had an egg, it's not a no. Now here we go. Sadly, I really don't think Sliwa has a chance. You know that has nothing to do with who would be the better person. Pilgrim says, I know, I was trying to sound smart. Well, it was a good attempt. Thank you. A nice try, though. Cut Up says, all eggs come from their grandmother. Okay. That's good. Now, listen to what I'm saying, and let me see if I can put this into perspective. Who is going to win? Curtis Lewa is a Republican in New York. Does this have anything to do? You're going to have a hard time with that. Not because of his worth, but because of the voter population, the voter rolls. It has nothing to do with his, because I think he'd be superior. What I'm trying to say is that he would be the best of them all. He really, I mean, he really, honest to God, knows every inch of the city. He is, there's nobody knows nobody in their country knows their city better than he knows his city. And of all the cities to know is New York. He knows every single. Remember the old joke about the guy who says, "I'm so embarrassed." Why? He says, "Oh, my father's a town drunk." Well, that's not so bad. He said, "New York." Well, New York is 8 million people. He knows everything. He really knows his stuff. He studied it his whole life. But in the latest polls, the numbers are changing drastically. Then Mamdani is either losing his appeal, not to be discounted totally, or the countervailing, which is either Cuomo or Curtis to an extent, maybe Adams, but that movement is changing as well. This is the most important. This is the most important thing. This is the most. So what I'm saying is, did you hear what I'm saying? The numbers are showing it's not what you think. The numbers are showing you. Remember, it's not the truth, it's accuracy. What did the numbers show now? Okay. What did we talk about 7 months? What did the numbers show now? Now, if you want to extrapolate about what the reason for that is, good luck. You can talk about that all day long. I don't know about that. All I know is I'm looking at the lab results. That's it. Hey, your LDLs went down. How? I don't know. I don't care. They did. That's all I know. Good numbers. We want those numbers as low as possible. Nah. You got that? You got it? We don't know why. We could talk about this, and maybe it's the fact that it's the communist. No, it doesn't really matter. Pilgrim says, if the country wins, it will continue the democratic downfall. If the commie wins, COMMIE, it will continue the democratic downfall, or expose it. We don't know, but thank you for that. We don't know. And you do know he might ideologically. He has said everything in the past. He is the prototypical. He is what Bill. He is Bill de Blasio on steroids. He really says things. Whether he doesn't want to live in a communist regime. Believe me, the first thing he would find out in a real, not necessarily totalitarian, in a communist, but a totalitarian regime, the first thing he would know and be told immediately would be specifically that what he is believing, or that what he is espousing, or what he is producing, or what he is, whatever you want to call it, that it is that he will be probably quashed, removed, sidelined because of the fact that he poses a threat ideologically. Okay? Remember something, and I can't, do not use the word commie, Marxist, socialist, unless you, number one, know what you're talking about. And if you can tell me what specifically he's saying. This is a welfare state. It's not a communist, socialist, Marxist. No, people use that. They use this as a term, as a pejorative. These are actual, articulable, replicable states of government and economy that are not just pejoratives, words or means of saying, I don't know what the word is. How do I say this? Saying that somebody's bad. We use that here because we don't still have any. There's nobody Americans don't even study, what does that even mean? What does socialism mean? You don't even know what that means. They can't even explain it. They think they do. It's like, no, put it down and let's do an essay. I can't do it. I can't even write. They can't. Pilgrim says he will play the i.e. restorative justice. He will play i.e. restorative justice. Well, restorative justice is something which that's not conservative, or excuse me, that's not socialist. That goes past. That's been around for a long time. But restorative justice, and that's what the Soros people, or ostensibly the Soros people, have been promoting. That's where you are worrying less about the quote carceral ways of dealing with drugs, incarceration, police, and all that. You want to have more of a community outreach. You want to be able to sit down with folks and whatever. Now, let me also explain something. This is the 800-pound gorilla. What are we going to do with Israel? What are we going to do with Trump and Israel? Because nobody wants to talk about this. One of the reasons why they love Mamdani is because he basically told Bibi to pound sand. They love that. Did you hear what I just said? What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about that? Tell me. What are you going to do about it? You're going to just say, because this debate, I don't even know if Israel knows what the hell they're saying. The fact that they're still having Dershowitz as their spokesperson, are they kidding me? You need a Mamdani you need somebody to come out and to explain a particular point of view, because you keep having these. There was a woman with this kind of a shmata thing on her head. I don't know, this headband, this scarf, and she was screaming on Piers Morgan. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. What do we do with Israel? What do we do within Israel? What do you think? Look at this. Will he come? Sharia law will come in New York City. Sharia law? Well, he's do you know what Sharia law is? No. What is Sharia law? What do you think? What do you think is Sharia law? You think Sharia law is cutting people's hands off and honor police and beheadings and subjugation to the Quran? And is that what you think? Is that what you think Sharia law is? Anybody? Sharia law is being it's being implemented in different places. People think, well, Sharia law, that means it's like the word jihad. You think jihad means attack, not intifada, a fatwa. You think a fatwa means? Remember when they said a fatwa against the author? Remember that one? Anybody? Understand? People don't know. They just say, well, I think that we have I think it means something. I think Sharia means, it's a word they use to describe these very draconian. I don't want Sharia. What about Talmudic police? We have in Williamsburg, in different enclaves of very heavily Orthodox Jews, Lubavitchers, people, by the way, who are very much, they leave you alone. They do not want to incorporate. They do not want to assimilate. You don't know they're there. They don't know you're here. They live in their world. You live in your world, and that's it. They don't mix nothing, which is fine. No problem if that's what you want to do. But the thing is that most people do not know what this means. They've never studied it. They don't even know what it means. They don't know what communism is, socialism, Marxism, Sharia, fatwa. It's the word they use. It's our short. The thing with the hands and the. I don't want it either. We don't research things. We don't study things. We don't say, let me get back with you on this. Let me read it. Read Noah Feldman. He's a real lefty from Harvard Law School. He writes some very good stuff because he speaks, I think, Arabic, and he knows he's an expert at this. He's not what you think. It has to do with weights and measures and customs, but they do a lot of it. I told you they try to implement this, but the bottom line, what are we going to do? Does President Trump continue unlimited funds or this paycheck to, and this is important, to Israel? Yes or no? Nora Doob, thank you, Nora. What does Trump do regarding Israel? Does Trump continue paying Israel? What about AIPAC? What about that? What do we do about that? What do we do? Answer that question. Because that's where Zoran Mandami, they love him. Okay? Now look at this. Okay, look at this. Here we go. You have no idea what you are in for. Laura has had a Muslim mayor for 10 years and is part of, and the place is a shithole with honor killings, acid attacks, etc. Okay. Is that Sharia? Is that Muslim? Is that a Muslim mayor? What is the what is that? What is the cause for London being what it is? Okay, that's the truth, but be accurate. What is the cause of that? Is it Muslim? So if you allow a Muslim mayor, was it key? For example, if we know that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if he were to be a member, I think Dave Chappelle didn't he convert quietly? You understand this? So this is a part. What happens? You haven't answered the question. What do we do with Israel? What do we do with Iran? Did you want to bomb Iran? We're bombing Syria now? Syria? Anybody? Anybody interested? You understand what's going on? So here's what I'm saying. What do you want to do? Now, here is the question. What do you want to do? You're posing a problem. What do you want to do? And to all of the geniuses who say, don't you understand what's going on in London? Right. What do you want to do about it? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? To all the geniuses, all the people who point out, you're effing clueless. You don't know what you're talking about. I know about London. They got your on the police. Okay, tough guy. What do you want to do about it? I don't know what I want to do about it. I just want to tell you, they got this guy over there, these Muslims, and the crazy bastards, and they're within the Mall of America. What do you want to do about it? I don't know what I want to do about it. I want to complain. Okay. Now that when you're done complaining, how do we work this in? What do we do? What's our take? What's our program? Because you're worthless in our army against this. If all you do is just point stuff out and complain to it, what do you want to do about it? How do you do it and comport and comply with our sense of First Amendment and the like? What do you do with this? What do you do? You're going to end up doing nothing because America just complains. It sits back. It doesn't vote. It has no idea. It may watch Fox News. It may tweet. It may go on a chat, yell, bitch, moan, complain, but nothing. What are you going to do about it? How do you tell us about it? I'm sorry, you can't be a mayor. Well, because you're a Muslim. Why? Because London has a crazy London, a Sieg, a Sieg, or whatever his name is, because what I'm saying, the mayor of London, and we don't want that here. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Send them all back. He doesn't mean that, but people will say that. Deport them all. What if they're here legally? Now, deporting people, I think, is important. I've got no problem with somebody within not deporting them, enforcing the laws. What do we do about it? What do you want to do? Sadiq Khan, thank you so much. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Lower inflation, create more jobs, affordable housing. What? We've been through that line. That's that liberal claptrap. What does that mean? What do you think? What do you think? Anybody? Nobody. So this is it right here. This is the usual story. Bottom line simply is, I don't know. I don't know. I just want to complain. I just want to complain. I just want to complain. You don't understand. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I watch Fox News. What are you going to do? How do you know? So we'll talk about that, which is a great thing. And I appreciate that. But we've hit, I think, the brick wall because now we're getting into the area that nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. Norma Dube, Pilgrim Media, Cut Up Chatter. Thank you so much. Make the dream great again. Thank you so much. But this goes to show you. So what we've tried to do is simply this. We will get to the point. We have to have solutions for things. Be able to read the scenery, read the enemy, read the terrain. I told you what's important. The best one of our sources of enemy infiltration is propaganda, and that's Hollywood, and that seems to be going down really, really hard, which is terrific by virtue of saying a lot of things. Be very careful of this James Gunn because the propaganda that's coming up, because this is something which you can't. The First Amendment prohibits us from shutting it down, but we have to have our counter propaganda. Know what the issue is. Spend some time understanding communism, Marxism, Leninism, the idea, socialism. What's the difference? How do you combine the two? Remember, communism to these people is an ideal. It's not something that it may be the name of a party, but as far as a system goes, it's an ideal. That's number one. Number two, what do we do about Israel? What do we do about the Middle East? What do we do about Russia? What do we do about NATO? How does this work in? That's a big part of it. Number three, why does a Sadiq Khan, why does a Zoran Mamdani, why is he attractive to people? Because it's that usual thing. The same way purple hair is, the same way studded noses, the same way tattoos are, the same way all this stuff. It's a fad. It's an ideological cool fad. It's like beards. Remember full beards? Now they look like the Smith brothers. Remember that? You know what I mean? We go through these shifts in clothing and fashion and music, but also politics and what we think is cool. If you would have told me 10 years ago that we would be arguing about whether a man and a woman is, stop it, ridiculous. And also remember, we are not Republicans. We're not conservatives. That's not our focus. My goal is not the promotion of the Republican Party. If the Republican Party goes away, I don't care as long as I lose that bulwark against these people. I don't have a rank. I don't have a uniform. I don't have a side. I'm an American citizen. And I think, remember, the people that you must understand, the issue that is the most important is from within. It's from within. It's not exterior. It's not Russia. It's not Iran. It's not any of this stuff. That's not going to destroy us. We're going to destroy us. The people here, people already here, and they look just like you, and they seem to be like you, and they're your neighbors, and they're your in-laws. They're the ones who brought us TDS and the whole bit. So remember, tonight, see you at the cutting room tonight, 7 p.m. Thank you so much, my friends. Follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Follow the legal side of this at Lionel Legal. Have a great and a glorious day. Make sure you are subscribed to Lionel Nation. I've got some more videos I'm going to be dropping later. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for your thinking. Thank you for your thoughtfulness. Remember, as a great Cam Fong, as Chin Ho said, we're all in this together, brother. And we are in this together, brother. And you're my sister and my brother. All right? All right, my friends. Have a great and glorious night. See you tonight, 7 p.m. cutting room. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. Show's over. Sue you. Da-da.